For your time,
Hello.
Natasha. How are you doing?
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm good. Really good.
Oh. Well, you're no stranger to horror
Mm.
films and projects. So, what was it about House of Abraham that attracted you to be a part of it?
I'll be honest, I've done some horror films because they pay the bills, and this was not that film. I've done some because I keep saying no, I don't really love it. I'm not a massive horror person, although I get hired in them quite a bit. But sometimes it's to pay the bills, and this one I knew was going to be a low budget, and I read the script. My friend Lukas Hassel wrote it. And I read it and I knew I wasn't going to get paid well. And I loved it so much because although I'm not a big horror movie fan, I'm a psychological thriller. I love the way people's minds work. And that to me was the most interesting thing about this one. The concept of somebody building this house where people get to end their life in a dignified way or in any way that they want, whenever they want, and to talk about it and to demystify it. And I just thought, what a great concept as a lead up, as the springboard for what ensues in a film, right? So I thought, I just loved to script. And I read the first 40 pages and I was like, going, where is this going? What is going on here? I was just super curious. And the film just builds so much tension. And I thought that was a great idea.
I agree with you. I like the psychological thriller films because not to mention the independent, because those have more of a creativity imagination. You don't know what to expect at the end versus to the big picture. I feel like those are stories that have been told already.
Yes. And it's not every day you're going to see a big studio film about end of life stuff, choosing it. You know what I mean? It's definitely, you have more um, agency, more, you have more of a chance to kind of tell the stories that you want to tell when you're funding it yourself. It's just a different thing. So there is more creativity at times, for sure.
So the ending, did you anticipate that ending?
The ending is a trippy one, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, forget about like, are you talking about the very ending, like end scenes, last scenes, or just the ending of what's found?
Abraham.
Oh, yeah, that. Yeah. There's some good twists in there. There's a good, obviously one massive plot twist. And then there's another little mini twist at the very end. And it's like, oh my God, what is happening here? I did not see it coming when I was reading it at all. And I think the way it's filmed, it's pretty interesting. And I think it will keep people guessing as well. So I'm hoping, I'm hoping, I'm hoping so.
Especially with one of the statements, like I wasn't alone. Someone else was there.
Oh, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Yes, I haven't seen the film in like a year or so, like 8 months or something. So I'm trying to remember it myself. But yes,
Yeah,
I know. There's some good twists there that just give you the chills. You're like, oh my God. Oh, I know. I know. Yeah,
I know.
it's a goodie.
Um,
Without giving, it's so hard to talk about without giving stuff away. That's the problem.
I know that's why I'm like, well,
I know. I know.
but it's also it talks about a darker subject, which is suicide.
Mm.
So can you talk about getting to talk about those things, those scenes, and your preparation if you had to mentally like prepared for it and then shake it off at the end.
Shaking it off is sometimes the hard part. I think some of those scenes were easier to connect to than others because I think, like most people, we've all had somebody who's died unexpectedly or purposely in various ways, right? And I have to say, I've always been, an advocate for, choosing how you want to end your life because and I know that's very controversial and it's very, obviously in religious circles does not fly. My family would not agree. There's a lot of um, political, religious sentiment around that too. But I always thought, my God, people will talk about their animals and how cruel it is, and they're so sick, and that's not fair, and blah, blah, blah. And they should put them down, and they shouldn't have to live with that kind of pain. And they've never been the same with humans, right? Who want to choose to end their life. And now obviously it's being talked about more and people are more open to the concept. And I just think it's always been an interesting subject. I think it's obviously when people are, have terminal issues, people are like okay with it. But what about people that have mental issues? Or what about people, that just are done? Like, shouldn't they be allowed to decide? So it brings up all of those things. And in terms of like preparing for that part of it, um, I think my character was very much on the fence the entire time and very concerned and confused about if people really wanted to be there, can you change your mind? What are the ramifications? It's funny because one of my favorite books is a book by Paulo Coelho called Veronica Decides to Die. And she really wanted to die until suddenly she found out she was terminally ill and sick. And then she didn't want to die anymore. And so all of that psychology plays into it as well. It's like, how much do you really not want to be here? And there are people that you've heard stories about that change their mind, or maybe a suicide didn't work and they're interesting subjects. And that's just the start. That's just the springboard of the film. It takes a million turns from there, but just that concept alone, I thought was so interesting. It was a big reason to do this for me.
There's also the touch of manipulation, that was touched there too along, and how we can easily get persuaded. Right.
Hmm. These days, my God, with algorithms and social media and the next best thing and the next woo-woo this and the next, and I'm a little woo-woo. I live in California, let's be honest, but come on, it gets outrageous. It goes so far in one direction. And be careful who you trust and be careful what you cling to and be careful who you idolize, right? I think there's those kinds of messages in there too. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Natasha, for your time.
Thank you.
And thank you for being a part of a film that will also open conversation for those that maybe are feeling a little lost. And, you can talk about it, maybe give them a little push.
Absolutely. Hugely. Especially, I think we're in Mental Health Awareness Month. So it's definitely something to be talked about, I think. I
Hmm.
think it's this month or it's last month. It was around now, but
Yeah.
I'm not,
I think men's mental health it was.
is it? Yeah. I can't remember, but it's all around now. But we should talk about it all the months anyway and demystify and it's even my strongest, toughest friends that have buried things so deeply, when they start going through stuff, nothing wrong with going to therapy, nothing wrong with talking openly about it. Nobody's perfect. We're all going through our things.
I
So,
agree. They're not
yeah.
alone. Well,
Yeah.
thank you again for your time and congratulations.
Thank you.
You're
Nice talking
welcome.
to you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.